We're live. Quick, say something, Nate.
Welcome to the Solana circuit number 21. Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good night, and very excited to have a very special guest with us here today, Ben from CircularFi. But before we get into that, David, how you doing today, sir? Oh, I think we lost David. Well, Ben, I will go to you. How are you doing today, Ben?
I'm great, and you? Hi, everyone.
I'm doing fantastic, man. Super excited to have you here. While we wait for David to reconnect to the stream, we can go right into caffeine. Are you drinking any caffeine today, sir? What's your caffeine of choice? Actually, my wife has discovered how to make the perfect cappuccino. She
Yeah.
puts like maple syrup and she brews espresso over it and then frosts milk and like mixes it all together. It's like the best cappuccino I've ever had in my life. Are you a fellow coffee drinker, Ben?
I'm a big drinker of coffee, but I don't think I have the expertise of your wife to do a cappuccino.
I'm telling you, man,
Uh,
there's this machine. Oh, David, you back?
testing. Yeah. Couple things. My OBS just crashed. Also, I've been dealing with my PC just like overheating over the past couple days. I have thermal paste and stuff on the way. So if I disappear, I'm sorry. I will run to my laptop, but it won't be as pretty. But sorry about that, guys.
Brother, we need to get you some thermal paste ASAP.
Listen, it's getting here. It's scheduled to get here in like 6 hours, which is after I go to bed. But yeah, it's getting here today. I already I already ordered it, but I could hear you the entire time. First of all, maple syrup cappuccinos, I don't know how I feel about that.
Dude, I didn't know either until I tried it, and I thought it was a little weird that my wife was trying. I was like, okay, that's interesting. But it's so much better than any like coffee syrup or sugar you could use. Um, it appears we lost David again. His computer probably overheated. But I'm telling you, maple syrup and coffee goes incredibly hard. Um, I know Americans kind of have a stigma about, oh, Americans like sugar and fat and butter and all that, which is true, and I wear that. I wear that by putting maple syrup in my coffee. But yeah, do you like the sweet coffee, Ben, or you drink it straight up black, or are you more of an energy drink person?
No, to be honest, I don't drink a lot energy drink. I'm more like a black coffee guy, to be honest.
Yeah, you don't like the foo-foo stuff. I'm sort of getting that way too. I was in high school, I would drink like these massive 32-ounce iced coffees that were basically just a bunch of sugar and milk in a cup, and
Uh,
I've kind of evolved past that, thankfully.
But I was like, yeah, only during the school I was a huge drinker of Red Bull. But yeah, now I stopped. At least like maybe I will drink a one per week or something like that. But I'm not a huge drinker anymore.
Oh
I
man,
prefer the
you and David would get on so well. He literally has like, I don't know, 6 24 packs of Red Bull in his fridge at all times. I think the
yeah.
dude drinks like 4 of them a day. He's a madman. Well, awesome. I think we lost David again, but we can get right into it. Um, Once again, welcome to the Solana Circuit number 21. Today we have CircularFi, who is the MEV hub for Solana. Ben actually joined us for one of our intern deep dives on one of the 3 MEV articles we made, and he asked some great questions. He made some great points. So we figured, why don't we bring an expert on MEV up onto the Solana circuit and chat a little bit more about the details of what is MEV, what does it mean for traders, what does it mean for people on chain, and is MEV a bad thing? So love to get into all of that, but first, Ben, why don't you give an intro on yourself? Who are you? What do you do? And what is CircularFi?
Sure. So I can give my background first of all. I started to be in the crypto ecosystem since a lot of time. To be honest, I discovered Bitcoin like a long time ago, 2015, 2016. I was like driving a Minecraft server at this time, and one of my developer asked me to be paid in Bitcoin. I was like, "What is Bitcoin?" So I discovered Bitcoin like that, and then I jump on. I think like most of the developers right now, like in Ethereum at 2017 when they explode and they launch their smart contract. But in the entrepreneurship of crypto, I really start I think in 2020. Around 2020, I created like a social network based on NFT. It was like a Twitter-like, but everything was dedicated to NFT. Your post, you can mint, you can sell, you can do what you want with NFT. And then like the market crashed, so we closed this project, and I really dive into the DeFi since this time. And so I arrived in 2023 on Solana by doing arbitrage. So that's that's one of the biggest point why I think I have let's say knowledge about MEV in general and especially in arbitrage. And why we do circular? To be honest, like the thing is really simple. Like at the time, so in 2023, 2024, we were like probably one of the biggest companies doing arbitrage in Solana. And so we had a huge lack of tracking our data. I mean, people doing arbitrage, especially at this time, did like millions and millions transaction every day. And so, we absolutely needed at this time a solution to track or just our robot overall. And so we start a circular like this. Just creating like our own dashboard. Then we start to track our competitor, and finally we just saw like the whole ecosystem need this solution, so we publish it as a public dashboard for everyone, and move ahead with this idea of okay, like what we can do more than just tracking wallets is tracking the whole market. So we start Circular V2 with this idea of giving the all transparency of the MEV data on Solana. So Circular basically is only focused on Solana, and we want to keep this focus because like so many things happen all the time on Solana, and you need to, I think for me, and that's my opinion, you need to focus on one chain if you really want to understand every small point and every small pieces of the environment. And so that's how we start Circular from a really need from ourselves first, and then we publish it for everyone and for the community.
Real quick, I know this isn't the subject of today's Solana circuit, but I love that you started out hosting Minecraft servers. I dabbled a bit in that. I've been a gamer all my life, and hosting servers, playing games with the boys, and I'm so fond of a bunch of these like old Minecraft servers that were like Hunger Games game modes, and I just had so much fun on them, man. And what was like your knee-jerk reaction to them saying that they would pay you in Bitcoin? Were you like, okay, this is a scam, like I want cash? Or were you like, yeah, sure, that sounds great? Were you already familiar with Bitcoin at the time?
No, I wasn't. Absolutely. I think I never heard about before. And I don't feel as a scam because it was one of my developers, and most of the time we pay the developers with PayPal money, so directly transfer with PayPal. And I think just the subject come around on the table, the guy just asked, okay, give me Bitcoin instead of cash on PayPal. And that's just how I discovered Bitcoin. I was like, what the fuck are you saying? So, what is Bitcoin? So he explained me a little bit, so I dive a bit into. But to be honest, at this time, I didn't catch the idea of Bitcoin. Like for me, it was, I can do exactly the same on PayPal. I don't understand. Like I can give you money on PayPal, is the same. I had 15 years old, so I didn't have like the global vision and the financial vision I have actually. So for me it was like super blur, super weird thing. I think I really dive and really understand the crypto ecosystem when like Ethereum launched their smart contract. When I saw like I can use development code, like I can use code to like literally code everything around financial, transfer money, and do what I want with like a digital asset. I get crazy at this time. I think like Bitcoin was more like, okay, I can transfer money. Didn't catch really the idea, but when Ethereum come, I was like, okay, I want to do this in my life. So yeah,
David,
this is
David, you're muted.
I see you.
The fun part about live streams is you have to technically troubleshoot things while you're live on camera. It's a lot of fun. It's great. You learn something new every day.
Hello.
Okay, I hear
Okay,
you,
David.
David.
Okay, perfect. Surprise, new camera angle. Yes, my PC crashed. Like literally, I literally had it off for like 6 hours just to make sure it was cooled down, and then it just overheated and died immediately. So, you know, I know we talk about tech a lot here on the podcast, but you know, apparently I can't handle my own machine at home. So we're still working through that, but it might have something to do with the fact that there's 86 things plugged into it right now.
That would do it.
But but yeah, dude. I also love that you started off in video games because I feel like there's like this sort of magic that happens, right? Where at least for a lot of us that like are kind of in this age range, right? Where we kind of all like video games like as a thing became like kind of like popular. They weren't necessarily built like when we were kids because obviously we kind of started with Pong and stuff like that, right? Like are technically the first video games. But like the culture of like where every young dude was a gamer, you know what I mean? That was our generation, and you could really tell it's kind of crazy because you almost have this like effect where some of the most successful founders across any vertical, across any industry, anything, are all the guys who made $1 billion RuneScape gold or like max out their WoW character. You know what I mean? Where it's like these guys who are into min-maxing or they ran their own Minecraft server or figured out how to mod stuff or like whatever it is, where it's like video games really were kind of this proving ground and testing ground for like, do you just like tinkering and playing with stuff and figuring out how it works and how you can make it better and how you can get something out of it and all this sort of I feel like that's a very specific type of person. And somehow video games accidentally managed to filter for that kind of person, right? And if you think about stuff like trading, stuff like MEV, stuff like on-chain systems, it's like it is all just a giant game, right? Where it's like, so it really does attract kind of the same kind of people, and it's really cool to kind of run into that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I think the parallel with video game is right, but to be honest, like the parallel I do most of the time with my team is to compare. Like we try to find like something we can compare to the MEV and to the arbitrage. Like we had this idea of okay, we can compare to iGaming, esport in general, but it's not exactly this. It's more like we can compare to a Formula One. To be honest, it's more like a global engineer race, and you need to have like the best engineer and the best practice, and it's like the Formula One. You need to have like the best aerodynamic, the best like a pilot also, but the pilot is not like the most biggest thing. I think in Formula One is more like the car in general. So yeah, I think it's more like a huge race of Formula One. That's how I see the thing, and yeah, I think it's a huge race of Formula One. I think we can describe like this MEV.
Yeah, it boils down to like, do you want to be competitive? Like, is that where you have fun? Is like competing against other people, right? Because that's what drives. Like, you're never going to be the best in the world at something if you don't like look at everybody else and just like hyper optimize and like want to compete and do that, right? Like, you just can't actually be the best, even if you like have the intelligence and the skill set and everything. Like, you can't actually get to the point where you are the best, even if you are capable of it, unless you kind of have that drive, unless you have that push. That's just like that's the core character trait, like or personality trait, I think, in people, and it's something that I always love to see in people. That said, I do want to kind of take a step back because I feel like we've been talking about like MEV for a few weeks here at Raikou. Obviously, we're building a Solana validator client that's very kind of low level that's going to impact how MEV on Solana and everything works. I feel like for a lot of the audience, though, they may kind of see MEV as this sort of big, bad, vague, not really well-defined thing. And we've kind of tried to talk about that and make it a little bit more understandable. But if you don't mind, in your words, like how would you describe like what actually MEV is? Like what is that? How does it impact your everyday user? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And just kind of in your words, yeah, how do you think about MEV just as a sort of general concept?
So I think MEV is a big word first. I mean, like people put a lot of activity and a lot of thing inside this world. So how I describe MEV, it's if we check the literal translation, it's maximal extractable value. It's like the value you will extract from a block. I think that was like defined like this at the beginning because it was more like validator doing it. Now I think validator is like a small piece of the whole puzzle, to be honest. And majority of the MEV right now, at least Arbitrage, is doing by high frequency firms. Like we speak about a big company, we don't speak about like people are alone. Of course, like some people are alone and doing arbitrage and MEV on their side, but yeah, most of the team is like 10, 20, 30. I know some team are like 50 people inside the team, not only focus on Solana, but 50 people to doing arbitrage. That means like the company is huge and they make a lot of profit from that. So I think MEV overall can be defined like this, like extract value from action by a user. But MEV have like a really, really bad image and especially from 1 or 2 years because from what happened in the Solana ecosystem. I think if we go back like 1 year, 2 years, 2 years ago, that was like a huge bad point on Solana because people did like a lot of sandwich and extract the value from user. That's not the overall point of MEV. It's not like just extracting and stealing literally the value of the user. Sandwich is a part of the MEV, of course, but it's like the bad thing and let's say it's the dark side of the MEV. Then you have the arbitrage. I think so MEV is a 3 big pillar for me. It's arbitrage, sandwich, and liquidation. Let's say the cleanest part of the MEV for me is the arbitrage. Why? Because first one, we don't front run, we back run the user. The difference between front run and back run, I will explain a bit for who don't really understand what I'm saying now. Front run is you will send a transaction before the user. So let's say I know, David, you buy, let's say 1 Solana of Bonk. Okay. I can, for example, buy a huge amount of Bonk before your trade. This is front run, and then I will sell after your trade. This is a sandwich, and this is front run. You use the transaction of the user to put one transaction before him. This is the bad thing of the MEV. The good thing of the MEV is
just to clarify it a little bit for the audience. Like yes, I understand that. Will you just tell us like why that is bad? Like how does that, like if I'm the guy trying to buy 1 Solana worth of Bonk, like how does that actually hurt me?
So how that hurt you if I buy a huge quantity of Bonk? Let's say your swap code, so the one you generated on the front end, for example, like you see on the front end, so on the website, you can exchange one Solana against 1,000 Bonks. Let's say for the example, if I put a transaction and I buy a huge quantity of Bonk just before you, at the end you will not receive like 1,000 Bonk. Maybe you will receive like 250 or 500. So I will literally extract the value from your trade. This is the bad way of MEV. So yeah, it's the sandwich, and
that's why they call it maximal extractable value.
The user. It's called extractable, maximum extractable value, but it's not like a good way to do MEV because you literally steal the user. I think this word is really important to mention. You literally steal the user. If you do arbitrage, for example, so David will buy like 100 SOL of Bonk. If you buy 100 SOL of Bonk, like let's say a liquidity pool is stable. So the idea and the global idea of a liquidity pool is like 50-50. You have 50% of the token on the side and 50% on the other side. If you make a huge buy, you will unbalance this liquidity pool. And someone is going like an arbiter, a searcher, as we call in the ecosystem, will come to buy the optimal and mathematical amount to rebalance it at 50-50. And so, as an example, if you make like a huge swap and you unbalance a lot the liquidity pool, so you will completely change the price of the bank on this liquidity pool. At this time, if someone wants to buy it or sell it, like his rate will be completely different than he saw on the front end on the website, because you just unbalance the liquidity pool. So we absolutely need people doing arbitrage to have like the as possible stable pools, at least like the liquidity pool represents the most the real price of the token. That's why like arbitrage is really useful, because you rebalance the liquidity pool and you give the same rate to everyone on the chain, and trying to have like the exactly same rate on every liquidity pool. So yeah, I don't know if I answered clearly, but yeah, the side is like they have their dark side, the sandwich for MEV, and they have a really good side and useful side for market in general and for like high frequency trading, or people just wants to make a normal trade. It's the arbitrage.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that we've talked about a lot, is that like people see MEV as kind of like this big, bad, vague thing that a lot of people don't understand. And realistically, users shouldn't have to understand that, right? Like they should. This should not be something like, as an end user of a chain, if we want to actually achieve global adoption, this is not something we even want users to have to consider. But obviously, there's kind of like these two different halves to it, where it's like one half of it is like this, it's named maximal extractable value, right? That already sounds bad. And yeah, it's because it started off with like these extractable things like sandwich attacks, where it's like it just hurts everybody, except the person performing the attack, obviously. And that kind of has kind of given a bad taste, I think, in the mouth of just like I don't want to say general public, because the general public doesn't know what crypto is, much less MEV, but like the general like crypto public. But the reality is, it's like most of the actual volume and most of what's actually being done that falls under the MEV label is actually really good. Like you were talking about, where it's like everybody wants consistent pricing, right? Well, what does that mean? That means we need arbitrage, right? That is a necessary function of a market. Everybody wants to be able to use a lending protocol or a perps protocol or whatever. That means we need liquidation, right? And these are actually like most of the economic value that's happening on chain right now. And you guys track a lot of this on CircularFi. I know we kind of asked like what was like while I was kind of handling my tech issues. I know Nate asked kind of what was the drive for CircularFi. I'm kind of curious as to like what are the things that like what are the most interesting things that you guys have found as far as like what is the cost benefit analysis, almost, if that like makes sense as it relates to, because I know you guys are generating sort of this data platform and letting people actually see into like the inner workings of how this works. What are some of the most interesting like insights and things that you guys have found in the process of building this, of observing these things? Obviously, you guys are active in the space. I mean, I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts on, like, I guess some of the most surprising insights you guys have been able to find.
I think, to be honest, the most surprising thing we discovered during Circular, it's more like the trending token. I think it's the best example you have directly. So this is like the MEV trending token. We base all of our trending token on MEV revenue. This, I think it's the most powerful thing we find from arbitrage and from MEV in general, because we thought about like, okay, like every platform, every trading platform use the volume and algorithm on top of that to like exclude the all wash trading or things like this, to have like the most accurate as possible trending token. But they base like the principal factor is the volume. And that's not good, because like you can't catch all the wash trading. It's impossible. And so if we think about, so as I explained it before, like, so your liquidity pool is in 50-50. If you are an imbalance it, someone is coming to rebalance the pool and create like a transaction arbitrage to rebalance it in 50-50. We don't analyze like the trade that unbalance the liquidity pool as everyone. We only analyze the arbitrage transaction that rebalance it, because if we think about like the rebalancing of the arbiter, of the searcher, it's proof like a real volume and a real user. Otherwise, like the liquidity pool will not be unbalanced. And so that's why we base our trending token. And I think we're like, it's the purest data of the market, because otherwise, like, we don't use like the volume or whatever. We just use like the MEV revenue. And I think to take a step back and just watching this this inside of a token, it's much more accurate. And we find it like last year, that of the fact like we can't define much accurately like the trending token, because the arbitrage, and because like the rebalancing of people doing arbitrage in comparison to our previous trending token that was based on volume. So I think is the one of the most cool thing we discover by using MEV data in general. It's trending token, and trying to base everything and every inside or signal on the MEV, because like the MEV proof a real activity of users. That's why like now like arbitrage profits dropped, for example, if we compare it to 1 year ago. 1 years ago, there was like much more volume and much more traders on the chain. Right now, it's a little bit more slow, let's say, in comparison, at least 1 year ago. So you have like less revenue. That this is like perfectly correlate. So I think it's one of the coolest thing we find with this data, to have like a much more accurate lists and much more accurate data by using the arbitrage and by using the MEV in comparisons to use the volume, and trying to have an algorithm on top to exclude the all wash trading.
Yeah, that's like a super cool way to sort.
Just token. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's like a super cool way to sort. And I promise I'm going to let Nate talk here in a second. I know like you and I have been going back and forth for a minute, but
this is what I thought the stream would be: is David getting nerd sniped, and then you two going back and forth on MEV stuff. Like, I'm just merely the entertainment, the gesture of this stream.
No,
but I do have some questions.
Gesture.
I do have some questions, but go ahead, David.
I was just gonna say, like, I hadn't thought about that before, but it's like actually the amount of like MEV capturable by arbitraging like a specific token is actually like, I don't know why this has not occurred to me before, but like that is actually probably the best way to measure like how much organic volume or activity is on a particular token, right? Because if it's all just bots or automated, they're not going to do stupid stuff that can be arbitraged. We're all humans, right? We're fallible. Like, I'm going to set my slippage too high. I'm going to buy the mathematically wrong increment. Somebody's going to take 3 cents off of me or whatever it is from MEV. You know what I mean? If I'm really bad, then they'll take $1,000 or whatever. But, you know, if I'm doing things kind of smart, you know, it'll be small. But using that as a measure of like organic activity is actually like, now that I'm thinking about it, like just a super smart way of like identifying where the actual like human interest and activity is. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, so we try to find some cool way to use like MEV data like this. Not only focus on the portfolio tracking and say, oh, okay, this guy or this wallets do like this amount of profit every day or this amount of profit on the month. We try to have like kind of a new approach with this type of data, because we saw also on the ecosystem like no one used it really properly, this data, or even no one tracked it before us, which is crazy because, for example, in 2025 the revenue of the arbitrage market was around $1 billion, not profit, revenue, but $1 billion, and this market wasn't tracked. So crazy. I think we are just at the beginning of Solana and the blockchain in general. If we just step back, of course, like it's not completely new. It's not like since a few months that the Solana launched, but with a overall puzzle, I think we are just at the beginning, and so MEV it's still like not really understood by users, but also by firms, by trading firms or whatever. And so yeah, I think it's really exciting to try to push the limit of MEV and try to really think about and trying to just like find new way to use this data. And yeah, just let's try to have like a different approach than the other trading platform or just a data provider in general.
So I got 2 questions for you, Ben. So
Yep.
I kind of already know the question for this, but just for the audience, that's what I say. So it sounds like it doesn't sound like I'm asking a stupid question. That's my excuse. Does MEV exist?
There's no stupid question.
Especially with MEV, because it's so confusing to most people, right? So does MEV exist in TradFi? And if it does, why is MEV not discussed at the lengths that it is in crypto?
So I think it's not really on the traditional finance. First of all, you have really different approach, let's say. So first one, they don't use block, they use order book. So it's kind of something really different because you can't extract the value from a block. There's no block. Also, like for example, arbitrage already exists on trade finance. No one in blockchain really experiment for the first time of the world. If I even can tell you, like the first trace of the arbitrage was in I don't want to say some shit, but I think it was on the 17th century. I think 17th or 18th century, something like that. From like the first trace of like arbitrage. It was in Amsterdam, people buying stocks on Amsterdam and sell it or buy it like on the Paris Stock Exchange and sell it directly on Amsterdam, because at this time it was like the most liquid, let's say, stock exchange. And so yeah, arbitrage exists from a long time ago. And people already and keep doing arbitrage on the trade finance. For example, I don't know, let's say I have USD, I can exchange USD against won and won against a euro, and then I can exchange from another stock exchange or whatever this euro against USDC and get a benefit. But what's the blockchain really improve in this way of doing arbitrage is the atomic way. In trade finance, you will send your order to make your arbitrage, but you are not sure about the execution and the rate execution. In the blockchain, you can mathematically say like, okay, at the end of the transaction, I want to be profitable. If I'm not profitable, just fail the transaction and I will get back my fund. Of course, I will pay like the fees. This is like mandatory to send a transaction. If you use, of course, like a normal way to send your transaction, I don't speak about like block engine or whatever. I speak about like sending a normal transaction to a leader. So you will pay the fees, but you will not lose money. Like you will not lose your token during the transaction because it's atomic. At the end of the transaction, if you have less token than what you send at the beginning, your transaction just failed. I think it's the biggest difference between like the trade finance and the decentralized finance. The way of like algorithmically, like mathematically say to your transaction, okay, if it's not profitable, like fail it. I want to get back my fund. So arbitrage exists in trade finance, but it's really, really different because they can't be sure at 100% to get more fund than what they send at the beginning.
Yeah, there's this whole concept of like atomicity, right? Which is exactly what we were talking about. Of like on blockchains, and this isn't even just limited to Solana, that you could kind of say like, hey, if I don't get the outcome I want, the whole thing doesn't happen at all, right? That does not exist actually in any other market. Like it literally does not exist. You can't guarantee that. You can build mathematical systems, probabilistic systems, and say like, okay, I have this expectation of this outcome or this whatever, and I know what my round trip time is for my ping and how long it's going to take the server to process the message under whatever load it is, and I can track that. Like you can get very close, but you can't guarantee it. Like that is not actually a guarantee you can that is physically possible to happen in TradFi. Like if I have to communicate with two different exchanges that are in two different parts of the world, I have to measure how fast my message gets there. I have to understand how their matching engine is going to work. I have to understand who's in queue in front of me. I have to understand how active the market is, what the margin requirements liquidate. Like there's a million different things you have to actually consider. And I've worked on these systems, and it's a very different sort of thought model. But there's an interesting corollary where you said earlier, like, and as far as I'm aware, I think you're correct, because this is also my understanding of the first example of arbitrage tech happening in like the 17th century. And that's also my understanding. Maybe we're wrong. I'm a trader, not a historian, but there's an interesting corollary there where the first examples really of like concentrated like large scale arbitrage in crypto didn't really start happening until 2017, right? Where it's like prices would be roughly aligned, and if you have access to enough historical data, you can actually go observe this for yourself, where actual like reasonable levels of arbitrage transactions only started happening right before we started doing things on chain, really. Right, where it started off, it was going to be centralized exchanges. We didn't have DeFi, we didn't have smart contracts, stuff like that. Like Ethereum was kind of like, this is a couple of years after like Bancor and stuff like that. Like when we even realized we could put markets on chain. But I think arbitrage specifically and the functionality of that market. First of all, like the people who are good at it, they all came from TradFi. Like none of them are crypto native. It was not the crypto natives that were like, oh, I can arb this, right? It was people coming from TradFi and saying like, duh, arbitrage is like an incredibly important part of a healthy market. I know how to do this, and crypto's wildly fucking inefficient, right? And that's like all the people who do arbitrage, they all came from TradFi, like literally every single one, at least that I'm aware of. Maybe somebody who didn't, but the majority of them kind of came from that field, because that's how markets work. And so when you see things like arbitrage and sandwich attacks lumped into the same category of like MEV, you end up kind of looking at it going like, okay, one of these things is like you have to have it for a healthy market. Like arbitrage, you have to have it, otherwise nobody knows if the price that they're getting is a good price, right? You just don't have a way. On the other end of the spectrum, you have, hey, this guy is finding every possible way to just steal money from me. And those are such totally different activities, and it all gets lumped together into MEV. And it's just like one of those distinctions where it's like, I know we've talked about this before, but I kind of really want to hammer that point home, where it's like these are very, very different things. And it's really cool to see that like people like you guys are actually tracking and kind of starting to show the general public like, hey, there are these differences. This is the value of these things. Like one of these things is good, one of these things is bad. And being able to like show people that and demonstrate it in a publicly accessible platform, I think is really, really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think that's all the point of Circular, giving this transparency of arbitrage overall. That's also why we didn't much focus at the beginning on sandwich, and I mean, liquidation is really useful, but we saw like most of the liquidity was driven by arbitrage at the beginning, so we try to much more understand the market, and yeah, I think it's pretty good to have this level of transparency on the ecosystem, and to I think it's not good to have this idea of MEV is bad. I think, and even maybe we should like rename and make a split between these two activity of sandwich attack and arbitrage, kind of a new words to describe it. But yeah, I think like giving this transparency, at least for the bad thing and for the good thing, it's really useful and so important for the ecosystem, because if people are not aware about like you will be steal by sandwich attack, so the slippage is really important for you to protect your trade. No one will care about the slippage overall, or the just they not think about, okay, if I put 100% slippage, that's how it works. Because I don't want to have a failed transaction, but failed transaction in a certain way will like be super useful for you if you're like sandwiched by someone, by a robot. So I think this transparency,
I want to pause and hammer
is
that
really
point home.
important. Mm-hmm.
I want to pause and hammer that point home just for like the users and the people who are listening right now. Like, yeah, on a 5K liquidity like meme coin that you think is going to go to the moon, yeah, you might have to set 100% slippage, right? But if you do that and you're also trading with size and then you keep that 100% slippage on Solana, you are going to get fucked. Like, don't do that, right? Being aware of these things where it's like exactly what you just said, where it's like you want that transaction to fail. Like you do for your own personal interest. Like I know it's annoying to have to retry stuff, but you would rather have your transaction fail than somebody steal $10,000 from you. You know, if you're trading at that size level, like that is actually what you want. So this is something that like people need to be mindful of if they want to protect themselves and actually, you know, get kind of the trades that they want, the outcomes they want, stuff like that. I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's like, but before like the end user and people who don't, you know, spend their entire lives thinking deeply about this stuff, which again, most people shouldn't. That would kind of be the takeaway that I would recommend for people.
Yeah, I think my recommendation in this case will be like to split in several trades instead of making a one with a huge size of amounts. I mean, if you want to buy like a new meme coin with 10 Solana, let's split, I don't know, in 20 trades with 0.5. I think it will be much. I think your impact will be less on the market, but also your, let's say, chance to get sandwich can be decreased because you will be able to maybe decrease the slippage overall. So yeah, split. I think split the trade is one of the, let's say, way can help you to not be sandwiched because you can decrease the slippage overall of your trade. But yeah, it's always like a complete situation. But I think like to be honest, if we compare 1 year ago and now, the overall ecosystem like put a lot of effort for like banning, let's say, banishing or stopped the sandwich on the overall ecosystem. Like the Solana Foundation did a really great work, and also other block engine like I don't know if I can mention here some other validator, but people are providing block engine. Yeah, did also like a great work with like the accounts. So now to explain a little bit more, like a trading platform can create a transaction with let's say a flag, and this flag will say like, okay, this transaction can't be the objective of this transaction is not to be sandwiched. So in Solana, you have different way to send your transaction on the network, and some of this way checked this flag of the transaction. And
it's okay. You can say Gito up front. That's fine. yeah.
I wasn't sure. Okay, so Gito, Gito on their block engine use this technology, the sandwich attack. So they put this in place. The Solana Foundation also make a really great work with the SFD. So like, let's say the delegation program for the validator overall, they kick off like people doing sandwich and try to be as reactive as possible for people doing sandwich, to just ban them from the ecosystem overall. So I think we are so far than 1 year ago on the network. That's also why like sandwich really dropped in 1 year. But still, I think they have like some many improvement to do to just like completely and totally ban this activity. I think it can be also from regulation, but you can do from the country you want. So I speak about regulation because I know like European regulation, for example, think about the fact of banning sandwich attack, but on the other sense, if Europe ban it and I don't know, let's say like Asia or US doesn't ban it, so they can make some sandwich attack from there. but in
Well,
a
at the end of the day, you don't want any like
yeah.
government. Sorry. Like
No,
at the end of the day, you don't want a government
Okay.
entity being the one to control this, right? Like you want like the
Also, for
whole idea
sure.
of crypto was built out of like the idea of like code is law, right? If we can't solve our own
100%.
problems, then we're not a better system. That's just what it boils down to, right? And yes, like Solana Foundation delegation program, obviously they're doing some great work. Also, shout out to Ghost, what is it, like Ghost Logs, or I don't remember what their actual official name is, but it's the team behind Sandwich.me. They've done an incredible
Yep.
job working to like kind of expose and detect this behavior so that like we can adapt and update to it, which is just fantastic for everybody. Exactly like you're saying, right? And this is all fantastic because obviously like this is kind of this crypto specific thing, right? Where you have in TradFi markets where it's like, okay, just pass a law. If you don't like something, pass a law, ban it. Cool, right? We don't get that in crypto, right? Because that's antithetical, yeah, to the entire idea where it's like code is law. So if something's happening that's wrong, it means we made bad code. Like that is the only conclusion you could come to. So it's a question of, does code actually work as an enforcement mechanism when applied to these decentralized systems, which is like the goal. Like if we can't do that, we're not a better system. So the goal is to build those better systems. I feel like we could talk for hours about this. We are not too far away from time. So I also want to ask you more about like CircularFi and your products. You guys are providing like a whole bunch of different like APIs and tools for people that are looking to detect MEV, to like spot these kind of things, to people who are trying to do it themselves. Like if you want to run a liquidation bot, an arbitrage bot, like anything like that. I'm sure you guys are not helping the sandwich bots because fuck those guys. But yeah, tell me about some of the ways like that I or anybody else interested could like use the work you guys are doing and help make the ecosystem better for everybody by providing positive value through MEV.
Sure. So first of all, we don't have only searcher and people doing arbitrage that goes on Circular. I think it's more for like searchers, but also analysts overall. For example, if we check our block page, I think we have like the most useful and powerful block page from the space. You can analyze like so quickly a block. And so, for example, if you're, I don't know, a sniper or someone like trying to buy really quick a token, you can find like directly on Circular like a complete analysis of a block and finding, okay, my transaction land on this index, my competitor land on this index. So you can like much more understand what's going on in a block. I think, but so this and most of the like we start to have like a growth also of validator using our platform to check what's going on from the MEV. So for example, we are in touch, I mean, with the biggest validator, and they try to, they use like Circular to check not like the overall data, but what's going on and why, I don't know, for example, my competitor or like another validator get like a huge part of the MEV or a lot of tips during these days to understand if they find something and they do MEV on their side, or yeah, just some stuff like this. So like this data is really useful for validator in general. And yeah, people, I think like most of the people right now is joining Circular for the portfolio tracking and for the MEV data overall. You can maybe go directly on the page on the screen shares on the top right. You have like a burger, yeah, and you can go directly on MEV. And so yeah, this is the like the overall market of MEV. It's on the 24 hours, for example. As you can see, like the for example, yesterday at closely the same hours, no, a bit ahead. This 2 spike, for example, was the huge pump of PP. I don't know if you see, guys, this on the social network, but like PP just explode because of tweet. And so you can also from the MEV page understand in real time the market. If you see like a huge spike of revenue, it's not random. It's because something happened on the space, and so people track this value to also understand what's going on in real time on the market. And yeah, so our base customer are more searcher in general, but we start to onboard the validators, also providers, like transaction providers, like Temporal, Australian, or different one. And so yeah, so this is the type of customer of Circular, and also the type of API we provide. It's more like a real-time tracking for the market. For example, like you have the trending token in real time, but with much more filters. You can filter the liquidity, the market cap, or whatever you want to have this idea of, okay, I don't want like a trending token based on volume, but I want trending token based on MEV. And we provide some APIs like the block, also programs you can be informed in real time if like a program is just updated on the chain. Like for example, Pumpfun love to update their program by saying to no one and break every trading application. So you are informed in real time by email or by notification overall. This is the type of products we provide from our API. You can check the documentation to see like all the endpoint and all the data. Also, we are really reachable. If someone needs like a specific use case, most of the time we can do it and implement it on the API. And yeah, that's Circular. It's like transparency of the arbitrage, and also you can use all data from our API to make arbitrage, of course, but also to make really deep analyze on the chain in general, because our main point is to type the transaction. So for example, when you go on SolScan, you will see it's a transaction. For us, it's not a simple transaction. It's a trade transaction. It's an arbitrage transaction. It's a wash trading transaction. We type the transaction to be able to the user to much more understand quickly why this transaction have been sent on the network. It's never like just a transaction. It's always they have a goal behind the transaction, and we try to categorize it and type it to be able for the normal user to understand properly and easily what's going on with this transaction. And so this is Circular. And so for also we have so I guess guys you heard about like the Colosseum and the hackathon right now. For example, we have a new product on the way. This is it's called Army, because I think one of the biggest points of the MEV and why people don't really understand MEV, it's because they don't have any interest to understand. I mean, they have, of course, like the sandwich, and they can prevent themselves by the slippage. So they understand this side of, okay, I can lose money, but they don't understand the side of, okay, I can get money from the MEV. Only bot and searcher team are really interested by, because they make profit from the arbitrage. But the normal user, the trader user, does really care about that, because like it can't get some profit. That's our proposition for the Colosseum, for example. So we're building HelpMe. It's a Chrome extension, Chrome and Firefox extension. So you just, like, the global idea is really simple. You just download the extension, and then you continue to trade on Jupiter or Axiom. Like, the extension will listen your browser, get your transaction, send the transaction to us. We will define like the price impact, make an arbitrage transaction, and give you back 50 to 60% of the profit generated by the arbitrage. Because right now, only the trading platform catch the profit from this arbitrage and keep this for themselves. We want to redispatch it to directly to the user. So yeah, it's also kind of a new product from Circular we developed for the Colosseum.
That's actually super cool. And I know the trenchers that are out there trading meme coins and whatever other assets on chain are begging for any sort of extra money that they can make on their trades, because the market is just absolutely brutal. But I'm really glad to have you guys up here
Yeah.
because you know, what you said earlier, and David called it out, is the fact that you can kind of use MEV as like a real indicator of organic activity on a token. So all of that considered, would you say that CircularFi is like the best way to understand what activity on a token is truly organic, other than using things like market cap and volumes? Like, is MEV the hidden data that's been in front of our noses the whole time that hasn't been available until CircularFi?
I think 100%. I think if you don't see like your token on the top 100, for example, on Circular, it's weird. If you think they have a huge activity on the token and you don't see it on the top 100 at least of Circular, it's really strange. So maybe take attention on why like this token is not on the top 100. Check the transaction if it's like just wash trading or whatever. But yeah, for me it's the best indicator. And on the team we call like the purest data of the blockchain, because it's hard to fake, and if you want to fake it you will lose money. So this is the perfect point to have like a huge point, I mean like a clearer vision on what's going on. For example, so if you can come back on tokens, the first one today on the last 24 hours is the PP, because it's true. I mean, like it's the PP generated the most activity since the last 24 hours in terms of meme coin and in terms of liquidity. Of course, we don't. So you can't see on this list USDC, for example, because we just blacklist it. Of course, USDC is the one that generating the most value, but it's not really interesting to list it there. But yeah, for me, yes, the answer is you can much more accurately find if a token is wash traded or it's have a real activity if you check like the trendings MEV token and the value generated by this token.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I was literally talking with some of our team earlier this week about I'm a trader by nature. I love it. Like even if it's like I also happen to be good at it, which is fortunate because I'm just like autistically obsessed with the idea of trading and uncertainty and trying to figure that out. And I literally never had the thought before until now of using MEV activity as a signal or as like a marker as to how to trade. And I'm having my mind blown right now because I've already had like 3 different ideas for like trading systems or ways I can implement this. So I'm about to be one of your customers for some of these APIs because I'm gonna use this shit for sure. Yeah, you just gave me like a whole new unlock, which is crazy.
I can give you a try if you want. so you can keep you can try on your side and give me a feedback on the product.
Yeah, dude. No, I'm gonna test out the API. I'm gonna start integrating this as far as like building like signals for what's happening on chain. This is really really cool, man. Thank you so much for coming on. We are unfortunately at time. I would love to have you on again because I'm sure we could just keep talking for hours and hours and hours. Nate, I love you.
100%.
I'm sorry that like you've had all of like 30 seconds of time to talk, but
No,
honestly,
this is great. This is
like,
great. This is awesome. I think it was an awesome conversation, and it uncovered a lot of things that, you know, we needed a nerd like David to ask the questions for. So I'm very glad that this Solana circuit went this way.
dude,
So
he
yeah,
doesn't understand
it
what
will be a pleasure to come back, guys, if you want to dive into maybe more details how like the process of an arbitrary is going, because we don't go deeper in details, but I think we can share like a lot on how like people doing arbitrage right now, because it's so interesting. People think about like, okay, it's just one way. It's not just one way. Like everyone have their own strategy. You don't use the data. Like most of the team don't use the same data, so they have like a different opportunity. They find different thing. It's like so interesting in terms of like opportunities, how they catch the opportunities. So maybe it can be like another talk for the next time.
Oh, For sure, dude. We could talk about a bunch of different aspects. We could talk about like I'll talk about how I would use this in a trading system, and it's probably going to be different than like half a dozen other people would use like some of this data in trading systems or whatever. And that's actually really cool. We're a big fan of like the competitive environment because that's kind of how Solana has always been built and grown. I love it. We love it. Like that's what it is. Thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate that. It's been a great talk. We're gonna have to continue it at some point. But I think our live stream like automatically ended about a minute ago. So I'm not sure if we're even still live right now, except in like Discord. So, but yeah, really great to talk to you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It was really, really cool, guys. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Glad
Thanks
to
for
have you,
coming, Ben. Love you, David. Love you too, Ben. Yeah, we will see you guys for the Friday Raikou Town Hall. But have a great rest of your day, Ben.
Have a good rest of the day too. Bye-bye.
Later.